Welcome, everybody, to the Lunacy Podcast, brought to you by Roughneck Scarves. My name is Tony. I'm here with Dave and Connor. Dave Stevens, Connor Ennis. I am Tony Pervenanzi. Another Zoomcast, boys, on this lovely fall day here in Minnesota. I think it was, it's June though, guys, isn't it? Because the weather outside was like fall-like today.
And not only that, I believe it's, as we record here, it is the first day of summer, technically, by the solstice, which happened late last night, I think.
Yeah.
So we are into the first day of summer, yet you're right, Tony, it felt like fall. Almost refreshingly so after the weather we've been having, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been a hot one around here, and I was in an even hotter place last week, so that was good. But let's talk about some beers, guys, because we haven't been on for a couple weeks. I don't have any new beer because I'm newly back in town. I just went with the old the Big Friendly from Grain Belt, little Grain Belt Premium.
There you go.
So made by Shells now down in New Ulm. And as everybody knows, if you're listening to this podcast, Dave and I were down there for Johnny's wedding and had a bunch of Shells down there and some premium. So
Tyler Miller, I hope you're listening.
yeah, Tyler Miller, the spokesperson for premium. So it's a classic. Everybody in Minnesota should know it. Good beer, Big Friendly. Enough said.
Yep.
Dave, what do you have tonight?
Well, I was I got a familiar brewery that we haven't recorded at, but we've all been to. I went from a beer from Indeed Brewing Company in Minneapolis, Northeast Minneapolis, and I kind of got excited when I saw this. I didn't get it at the brewery. I got it at the liquor store, which again, Indeed, they're all over the place, which is great. But I went with the Tangerine Cream Ale. And
Ooh.
So, yeah, I guess I should say the reason I'm excited is because I've obviously been to the tap room down there, Indeed, quite a few times. And I'm a big fan of cream ales in general, I guess. Not a huge fan, but, a pretty big fan, but I've had their pistachio cream ale. I've definitely sampled it on this podcast, and it's kind of one of the beers that I tend to pick up every once in a while, just because pistachio cream ale sounds good. So when I saw a tangerine cream ale, I thought, oh, that's perfect. We're getting into summer. It's a cream ale, and I thought I'd give it a go. And so this one is really, really unique. It's definitely got a tangerine taste to it, which is it's odd because I never buy tangerines. I rarely buy oranges, but boy, when you throw it into that cream ale from Indeed, it's got a really smooth taste. It's not, as a cream ale, it's not that hoppy. I think its IBU is 15. It's only 5.5%. So it's a relatively light, easy drinking beer, but it's just incredibly smooth. And that part of that is to do with the cream ale, but yeah, excited to try it, and I love it. I had one last night, and then I'm having one now as we record. So yeah, it's delicious. So
There you go. Yeah, Indeed is definitely a place I'd love to do a podcast at. I just think we haven't. It's one of those. They're all kind of in the same area, and we've hit a bunch of them. It's just like then you forget. Oh yeah, Indeed's there. Oh shit, we should probably do one at Indeed at some point.
Abel's there, Dangerous Man, all of them are around that area.
Well,
612 is across, a few blocks away. It's
Baja Brew Labs is over there. Dangerous Man, Connor, is probably never going to happen because I just think they're one of those breweries. It's like not that they don't care. I just think it's podcasts for them are kind of like
it's been a while since I've been down to Indeed. I mean, they have a nice little patio and a nice little space indoors, and then they have another room or rooms off to the side for, I think, events and whatnot. So we might have to do it outside just due to limited space, but yeah, just kind of popped at me, and the beer pops as well, because it definitely has a smooth, refreshing summer taste to it. Perfect.
Connor, I'm sure you have a beer from outstate Minnesota, right?
That was going to be my next one.
Okay.
Not this time, but this time I have a beer from Island City Brewing in Winona, Minnesota.
Oh, there you go.
I was down there a couple weeks ago. I went to college down there, and it was my first time back there since going to college down there. So it's been a while. But this This one is called the Double Dock Cider, and it is 8.2%. It's a double IPA, and it's very, very hoppy, very, very malty, almost Belgian looking, but it doesn't taste like a Belgian beer. Um, and yeah, did I say it's 8.2%, and it's it's a thicker beer. I think I like something a little bit lighter than this, but I would definitely get this again. And I'll tell you, the tap room down in Island City looks great. I would, if you're ever down in the area, I would definitely recommend it because it's got a good, just a typical tap room kind of feeling. So I would definitely recommend going there if you're ever down in the Winona area.
So I'm a little familiar with Winona. I've had cousins that went to school there. I've been there for a wedding. I've kind of passed through there. But so with the Island Brewing, is that kind of right downtown Winona then, or is it out?
Yeah, so it's like it's downtown-ish, like kind of near the bridge that goes over to Wisconsin. Um, and God, if I had like it's only a few blocks away from Winona State University's campus. Like you could walk there in probably 10 minutes from there.
But
So,
the new bridge, right?
the new bridge.
There's a new bridge that goes across, isn't it?
Oh, there is. I didn't see. I don't know. I
Are
didn't
you
see that
thinking
one.
you might be thinking lacrosse or that area?
No, there's a bridge down there. We just sorry, shop talk. My company did the bridge down there, did electrical work for that bridge. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it's near that the bridge I'm talking about has been there for a while. I used to go on runs down there a lot, so it was a very familiar sight. But it's been 13 years since I had been down there before, so it was nice to go down. And fun fact, the hall that I dormed in looks exactly the same. Nothing has changed whatsoever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, dude, we could. Well, Dave, I think not territorially. Where do we Comstock?
Comstock, yeah.
Comstock was our dorm at the U, and I'm pretty sure that this probably changed a bit. I'm thinking past it.
Well, I mean, Comstock itself, now I haven't been inside in many, many years, obviously, but I walk by there all the time, especially in Gopher football season, and it doesn't look like Comstock's changed but the area around Comstock has changed significantly.
Oh yeah.
Now there's a whole new dorm right next to Comstock. I couldn't even tell you the name of it.
In my old parking ramp, our old parking ramp, they demolished our old parking ramp. Damn it.
Yeah, Kaufman, that has changed. There's new bridges speaking of bridges, over to the quad, for lack of a better word. But
yeah. So well, good. Beer's out of the way. Before we get into the game, guys, let's talk a little bit about what we've been doing for the past couple of weeks, because I was in Vegas last week. And we'll talk about what I watched in Vegas a little bit later, because I watched a lot of Euro 2020 in Vegas. But interesting thing is, I know, Dave, you were in Vegas a couple of weeks ago with our buddy Nels.
I was there been almost a month ago now, the week before Memorial Day. Yeah.
And it's interesting, guys, and Dave, you can attest to this. It's crazy how things have opened back up when you go to a place like Vegas. It's like pandemic never happened there.
Yeah, it's the whole turning a dial versus flipping a switch. It definitely feels like you flip a switch, or at least even for me, when it was less so. I mean, I kind of feel like a flip was switched here, once the CDC kind of released its information regarding vaccinated people and all that. But yeah, Vegas, it was big time. Just you walk off the plane, literally. I shouldn't say that, because you got to, still, it's a federal law. You got to wear a mask through the airport. But once you get out of the airport, once you get into that, hotel casino, it's like it never happened.
Now,
for the most
part. I took an Uber during my trip at some point after I went to the Pinball Hall of Fame, which I'll talk about in a second. But my Uber driver was really cool, and she was telling me she's been in Vegas for 13 years, and she was driving Uber during the pandemic, and said you could drive down Las Vegas Boulevard and there was absolutely no traffic. Like, people were biking down Las Vegas Boulevard and not having to worry about cars. and they'd actually put wood panels over the front doors of some of the casinos when they shut them down, and had cops stationed outside of some of the main casinos to stop looters and people from, vagrants from hanging out. And she said this, like, downtown Las Vegas became a hotbed of homeless vagrant people just hanging out because there was really nothing going on down there.
I believe it.
Yeah. I mean, a good friend of mine, a friend of the podcast, Marshall, he lives in Vegas and has done so for quite a while now. And he sent me, and this, I'm talking about when Vegas was literally closed in the months after the shutdown in last, over a year ago now. And he would send me photos of downtown specifically, and even the Strip, but downtown, especially, where you're used to seeing all sorts of people at all hours of the day, empty. Nobody's in these pictures. So it was just so weird to see, because it doesn't matter how many trips you've made to Vegas, you'd never see a picture like that, because there would always be people on downtown, that whole, Fremont Street and the Strip. It's just crazy seeing those pictures. And it's incredible. It was
cool to be back. I haven't been there for over, I think it's been 11 or 12 years since I've been to Vegas, which I thought was crazy because I was going like once every couple of years for a while there. So I did go to the Pinball Hall of Fame, guys. And it's right down by Mandalay Bay, across the street. You can't miss it. It's a big building that says Pinball on the front of it. They're going to be doing their grand opening on July 1st. The crazy thing is, the cab ride I took from Excalibur to that place, because it was way too hot to be walking any long distance. It was 115 degrees outside. It was nasty. Cab driver didn't know it was there, and the Uber driver I took on the way back didn't know it was there. So it's kind of a new thing. What I was going to say is the crazy, and Dave knows this, Connor, you don't. I walk up to the door of the Pinball Hall of Fame, and I'm carrying a mask on me because I don't know what places are going to require masks. And so far, during my trip, nobody had required any masks or anything like that. And a big sign on the front door says, hey, even though CDC says, mask, you don't have to wear a mask, we still feel the pandemic is ongoing. So if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. If you're not vaccinated, you have to wear a mask. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm vaccinated, don't have to wear a mask. Walk in the front door, this lady stops me like dead cold, starts going this whole spiel about wearing a mask and do you have a vaccine card and you blah, blah, all this stuff. Basically what she was saying is, if you can prove to me you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. If you can't prove to me you're vaccinated, you got to wear a mask. And I said, well, A, I don't have my vaccine card on me. B, I never took a picture of it because frankly, by the time I thought about it, people weren't even requesting it,
Right.
And so I wore my mask the whole time I was in there. Half an hour later, I hear this lady telling another customer saying, oh, we'd even accept like an email from your pharmacy saying you got it. I'm like, well, holy shit. I could have told you this. Anywho, long story short, Pinball Hall of Fame. If you guys go to Vegas, any of our listeners go to Vegas, check it out. Go in there. You can play any game you want to. All the games are they're not free to play. You have to play with quarters, but they got games from 1932 all the way through the year 2000 in there. They've got old arcade games in there. They've got like everything you could possibly want in this place. And because we're speaking about the student union, Dave, where they used to have a little arcade that we'd go into every once in a while, Medieval Madness was my pinball machine I loved to play. And I had one of the high scores on that machine. And every time I see Medieval Madness game, I look and see if my high score is still on there. Well, they have a Medieval Madness game there. Do you think my high score was on there?
Odds would say no, but
no, it wasn't. Damn it.
Darn it.
Damn it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that's, if for our listeners who have been to Vegas, countless times like I have, and you're looking for something new, there you go. Pinball Hall of Fame. Because otherwise, I don't know how many first time visitors to Vegas would be going to the Pinball Hall of Fame, but
it's, hey, if you're an arcade guy like me, it's like you walk in there and it's like, holy shit, this is heaven, man. It's like heaven.
It's like you died and went to heaven.
Yeah. The only thing you can't do, of course, you can't drink in there, and there's reasons, because it's a Hall of Fame, and it's all based on they don't make any money really. It's all donations. And also another crazy thing, on the sign outside, it says in big bold letters, if you smell like marijuana, you're not allowed in here.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
They are like totally like, No drugs, no alcohol.
You know what? I wonder if that's more, I mean, to each their own, and that's fine. But it is interesting. Like I was out last time I was in Vegas in May. I was at the Aria, staying at the Aria Hotel just for a couple of nights. But I mean, it was wild. Like I was on a non-smoking floor, yet walking down the hallway, that's all I could smell is marijuana.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's all I could smell. And I don't know if this is people smoking on the floor they shouldn't be, or if it was down through the ventilation, or if people were in the room doing whatever they wanted or whatnot, or if it was just third hand smoke off of people's clothes or whatever. But yeah, it was wild. I mean, so maybe it was just part of that. Like people, they're just like, all right, this is out of control. It's everywhere. And you just want to avoid it.
Final thoughts on Vegas. One, lots of dogs and lots of kids, which I found interesting. And two, Vegas is back to its old self, where wear wherever the fuck you want to wear. I saw so many people wearing things they should not have been wearing everywhere, like tight fitting clothing. I saw a lot of asses hanging out of short shorts, just walking around. I saw it's like ridiculous, man.
Well, I mean, Tony, I'm pretty sure I'd be wearing my short shorts because I mean, it was probably 130 degrees when you were there, but
Yes, but I mean, I get it. Go to Vegas, be yourself. I totally understand that, but good Lord, it was.
Are you saying what happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas that way?
Well, no, it's really, some of the people there were frankly, whatever, but it was a good time though. It was nice to be away from home for 5 days. Our buddy Nels stayed here and watched Draco while we were gone, and took care of Draco and the bunny, and watched our house, which was nice. I did have, and I don't know if you guys have this, probably not because you guys don't have kids. I had a bit of anxiety the week leading up to me leaving because we haven't gone anywhere for like a year and a half. So I had anxiety. My sister-in-law who went with us had anxiety, like just anxious about leaving our kids and the whole thing, going to the airport and all that stuff that comes along with traveling. And I've never felt that way before. I don't know why it was. Maybe it's because, like I said, we hadn't done this for a year and a half. So, you're super excited to get out, but then you're kind of, but yeah, it was fun. Connor, you were in Door County over the weekend?
Yeah. So my wife and I drove up on Thursday, stayed in Fish Creek, Wisconsin, which if anybody listening to this doesn't know where Door County is, think of Door County as the thumb of Wisconsin, I suppose.
Right.
So if you make Wisconsin with your hand and just point your thumb away from your finger, and then keep all your fingers together with your left hand, and keep your fingers together, the thumb is Door County. And we stayed in Fish Creek. It was great, just a good place to go and relax. We called it our baby moon because it's our last big vacation before Laura gives birth in October. We're not planning on going a lot of other places before the baby comes.
Sure.
But I'll tell you, that part of the country is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Like we took a sunset cruise that first night, and it's almost like you were down in Florida. It was absolutely beautiful. I got some pictures that I know I want to show you guys too. But we did that, and we met a few people on the boat, and that we ended up hitting it off with, and they gave me a new drink that I had never had before, which was Minute Maid lemonade mixed with apple crown. You ever had that?
No.
It's very smooth.
It's a Wisconsin thing, obviously.
It must be. But it was delicious. I thought it was very smooth, and I would definitely recommend it to you guys. And then one other thing I've noticed about Door County was that they are known for their cherries. Apparently Door County is very famous for cherries. So they have like cherry waffles, cherry pancakes, cherry everything up there. And so I tried some cherry pancakes, which was delicious. Laura had some cherry juice, which I thought was a little too tart for me, almost like an orange juice, but cherry. It's a dumb it down a little bit. It was great. It was beautiful. We just relaxed and we did whatever we wanted. And yeah, I would highly recommend it. It's just a nice place to go relax for the weekend. And we actually just got back a couple hours ago. So
Oh.
it was, so it was just in time. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you go to Mecca then?
Mecca?
Yeah, Green Bay. Is that your Mecca?
Yes, of course.
Why wouldn't you stop there? Come on.
Yeah.
Did you drive out? So
yeah, we did.
Yeah, so I mean, you come close. Yeah.
Yeah, it's well, we actually went through Green Bay on the way there. I wanted to stop at Lambeau on the way there, but it ended up being too late, so we just drove straight through. On the way back, we hit up Lambeau just today, actually. We and Laura had never been, so we hit that up and just took a couple pictures, had some lunch, and that was Laura's first Lambeau, and I intend on turning my son into a Packer fan, bringing him one day. So that'll be fun.
Oh, I feel sorry for that kid. I do. Well, great. Glad you guys had a good time. Before we kind of move on here, because I know Dave has a vacation he went on. Did you go on a vacation, Dave?
I didn't exactly go on a vacation, but I went on a work trip to New Mexico.
That's right, Mexico. That's right. I did want to mention when I was in Vegas, I did have one local craft beer. I think I texted it to you guys, and it was the Love Lady Brewing Company's Love Juice India IPA, and that is the only local beer I had there. My other beers during the trip were Coors Light, and I think I had a couple of can't think what else I had. Coors Light and Bud Light. That's about it. But did get one craft beer when I was there, which is
at least you did. And like when I was it late last year when I recorded from Vegas, and I didn't go to a craft brewery like yourself, but at least I found a few. I mean, they're out there. They're everywhere, obviously these days. But yeah, that'd be cool to actually go to a craft brewery there.
So Dave, you went to Area 51.
Yes, I did. Yeah. Well, I mean, is that I went to Roswell, New Mexico, which that is not where Area 51 is. That would be in northern. You were closer to Area 51 than I was. That would be like
down in Arizona, isn't it?
I think it's Nevada, but I've never been there. Isn't
it? Yeah, Area 51's in Nevada, I think.
Yeah,
but you were near Roswell, right?
I was in Roswell, which is famous for the aliens crash landed in a UFO in Roswell, I believe, off the top of my head. I think it was like 1948. I could be wrong by year.
1947. Yeah.
That's close. But so aliens crash landed in a UFO in Roswell, just outside the city in Roswell, New Mexico. So Roswell is a very quirky little town, and even to this day, driving through and it's got a nice little downtown area, but it's alien everything. Like the McDonald's is alien themed. They have alien lampposts. They have like a UFO museum. All sorts of really, they're still pushing that alien UFO kind of culture, and it's a tourist destination. And it's literally in the middle of New Mexico. It's like it almost feels like I drove from Albuquerque, great city of Albuquerque, but man, it's a 3-hour drive, and by the time you get to Roswell, you're like, I'm in the middle of nowhere. But
now there was a movie made about the true story of the landing. It's called Men in Black. Have you guys seen that movie? It was a true story. I think Agent J or Agent K was there at the landing, I think was the deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, based on true story.
Now
of the Roswell crash.
Dave, were you
fiction parallel?
Exactly. Yeah. Dave, were you there to put in a filtration system for an alien plant?
Well,
technically, he's not allowed to talk about it.
He's not allowed to talk about it. Okay.
Without going into details, it might have been membrane filtration, but I can't say what they were doing with it.
Oh.
But it was in Roswell, New Mexico. What else would you be doing there? So I mean, making cheese? No.
What do they make in Roswell?
I drove through Green Bay today.
Come on. Yeah, exactly right. So we've all been out of the state for a little bit here, guys, in the last couple of weeks, which is good. But let's get down to some serious business. There was a game on Saturday, first game in 3 weeks for the Loons against Dallas in Dallas, where you guys know we do not play well at all.
If by well you mean not even being able to escape from Frisco, Texas with a point, losing every match they've played there since 20 MLS era 2017.
Yes.
So
right.
it's 5 years.
It's either the Heat or they got some kind of magic voodoo type of deal. I don't know what the deal is, but
you know what it was until, I mean, it was hot on Saturday night, but I mean, I remember so clearly, and especially in 2018, 2019, when we started recording this podcast, I would always blame it on the Heat. It's the Heat. Yeah. I mean, which in quite frankly, it certainly could be, but it's interesting coming into this game on Saturday, the weather here in Minnesota, where presumably the players that were still with the squad would be training up in Blaine. It's been darn right hot here and humid. So I guess if you're training for a game in Dallas, the weather we've had lately would be the weather to do it in.
Which is why I have an alternative theory, Dave, as to why we don't do so well. I think Minnesota is secretly still suffering from the Stars moving down to Dallas.
Moving
down to Dallas, I think.
Interesting.
I don't like to talk about that, Connor.
I think there's a stigma.
Yeah.
Another interesting fact about this past weekend, I should say, was, the Twins were actually down in the Dallas area as well in Arlington. Mm-hmm. I think they still play in Arlington, but the Twins were playing the Rangers that weekend and actually came away with a sweep of the Texas Rangers. So
way to go, Twins.
And see, now, before we get into the game, in a normal, if COVID had never happened and the Twins were playing down there and the Loons were playing down there, would have been a perfect trip to go down there to see the Twins play and the Loons play at the same time, because that rarely happens with the Twins and the Loons. It just doesn't work out that way. But yeah, it would have been a good trip. We are, of course, missing some guys from our lineup because they're playing in the Euros right now. We don't have Jan Gregus, we don't have Ratalia, and we don't have Robin Lod. So our starting lineup was a little bit different, to say the least. Now, before the podcast, guys, I told you MLS.com has us at a 4-1-4-1 formation, which we know is not true. It was a 4-3-3.
I mean, depending on how you look at it, the lineup that they have on MLSsoccer.com. I mean, don't get me wrong, I use that as a resource. The website's all right, but yeah, when it comes to the lineup, I'm looking at like a 1-4-1-4.
Yeah,
but yeah, they call it a 4-1-4-1. I'm just visually looking at it, but yeah, no, we watched the pregame. They came, I was a little bit surprised. I mean, I think Tony and you and I were watching the game together on Saturday. My prediction was incorrect. I thought it would be a 4-2-3-1 with Unu on up top, and then basically Ray in the middle, and Francopane out left, and then Hansen out wide right, and then so on and so on. But it was not the case. The reason I got it wrong was I was kind of close, but missed the formation. But Ray was not starting.
Nope. Ray is a little bit dinged up, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, guys. But basically, it was a 4-3-3. We had Anu, Fragapane, and Nico Hansen up top. We had Hayes, Dotson, and Trapp in the middle. And our back line, of course, was Gasper, Dabasi, Boxel, and Metnier. Tyler Miller is back in goal because I think is DSC, he's with Canada, isn't he?
Yes. No. He's not.
He's not. Well, not now. He was, to clarify, I mean, Dane St. Clair was with Canada for their final round of qualification, which Canada, if for listeners who don't know, I'm probably few, Canada did qualify for the final tongue twister. Canada advanced into the final round of World Cup qualification. So, and Dane St. Clair was with the team, but that had finished up. That wrapped up like a week ago. He was available with the team.
Okay.
But Tyler Miller, I mean, I don't know, it'll be interesting how long his streak, continues. He's had, prior to the international break here, he's had several strong performances, and that continued into last night. The lineup was interesting just because, Tony, you mentioned that they're missing key pieces, especially like Lod, who might be the early MVP of the season. They're missing Lod. They're missing Gasper, who is not the MVP, unfortunately, so far, but they were missing Gasper, and then of course Ratalia, who played pretty important part for this team going forward. I think it was the excitement of, okay, 3 weeks now, you got a new coming back, presumably to start. He got a little action in the RSL game coming out late, and then Francopane, he was unable to start at RSL because of COVID paperwork and down in Argentina. But so it was kind of a little bit of mixture of like, oh yeah, we got Francopane, Hanu starting, missing key pieces. But interesting lineup nevertheless. It's just crazy. It just seems like every week it's a different lineup. For the most part, something's due to injury or availability.
I think that Anu and Fragapane playing together, unfortunately without Ray in the middle, that's kind of what they want to see, is those three guys working together. And then Nico Hansen getting a chance and see what he can do on the right side. But like we were talking about, Dave, when we were watching it together, was that the Loons came out like gangbusters in the first half.
Big time.
I mean, they were on point. There was a lot of action going back and forth, and a lot of just good ball. I will say it was nice to see them do that without Ray in the middle, because my concern without Ray in the middle is that there's not going to be enough action. Ray is like the middle of that spoke who can get things kind of working, left, right, back, forth. So it was nice to see them do that in the 4-3-3.
I would say, just jumping in, like, for taking like the 30,000 foot approach. I mean, a couple things really kind of stood out to me, and we mentioned that in the lineup. You had Dotson starting in that, more of a, central midfield role, central midfield, the 8, or this. He was kind of in the 8, starting in that central mid role, and, not being pushed out left. We've seen Dotson. He's started basically every game of the year, I think, except for one, but he's played in every game of the year. Dotson has. But I mean, everybody, just screaming about him out on the left, where clearly that's not his natural position. So I think starting this game in a more natural position, I think that midfield of Dotson, Ja'Cory Hayes, and Will Trapp was spectacular for most of the game, especially in the first half. Chances created, and then, like you said, it was evident very early in the first 10 minutes that there's some excitement, because whether it's a well-timed run or Francopane just knowing where to be, knowing where to come off the, in this case, the left side, and Hanu being in the right spot at the right time. I mean, there was some early chances created by both Francopane and Hanu, and that was exciting. And then generally, it was that midfield work of Dotson, Ja'Cory Hayes, and Will Trapp just really putting the effort. They had some key takeaways, key turnovers that led to those early opportunities for Francopane and Hanu, and I think that just looked so good. And then, generally speaking, I mean, maybe they weathered a storm in the first couple of minutes, first 3, 4, 5 minutes of the game, but it was all Minnesota. It was Minnesota forward, Minnesota attacking. And before we move on into any details, one thing that kind of did change the game, and I didn't even see the foul, so I'm not going to comment on it, but I know what you're thinking, Tony. Yellow card for sorry, help me out, guys.
Debasi.
Yeah, sorry about that. Debasi. Yeah, there was an early yellow card. In fact, it was so early, it was the second minute. I didn't even notice the foul. I just saw that there was a yellow card, and that kind of changed the game, especially into the second half. And it was rough. But other than that, it was all Minnesota early.
Yeah, they had within the first 10 minutes, they had a couple of attempted shots, but then we got on the ball and just started hitting shots left and right. We had an attempted shot by Fragapane in the 8th minute. You had Anu hitting one in the 24th minute. So they were.
Yeah, I gotta say, for those attempts too, that's the service leading to those attempts was incredible. Just hitting the long balls, like I have never seen Minnesota do that before. Being able to hit the long balls up the field and hit Anu or Fragapane like that. I thought the service was spectacular. It was.
And what do you why do you think that is, Connor? I mean, is it like, I know like what you're probably thinking about, the 22nd. I think Hanu's real first chance at goal was created by Metnier. And I should say Metnier had a very solid game for pretty much the majority of the game, other than the first half of the second half, which I don't think anybody had a good game. But I mean, yeah, no, it was almost like, would you credit like Hanu there, or just for being there with his run, or being in the right spot, right time? Or because how do you expect that? I mean, is it chemistry? I don't know. I'm asking out loud here because there was clearly something changed. And you saw the Metnier that we know. It wasn't just Metnier making a long run down the right-hand side and then crossing into the box late. No, he was doing some long passes forward that Hanu, caught in stride there, specifically in the 22nd minute.
Right.
About that one.
There are a couple things that I could credit with that. One is that they both have played the same style of soccer before in League One in France. So they know in League One, obviously, like every team has their own strategy, but they play a different kind of soccer over there. So I would credit some of that with that. Another is that they're getting back from a 3-week break, so their game could be back up to a level that it wasn't at when they ended their first stretch of games. Was it? I think. So we got an Adrien Anu from Stade Rennais. Did we get Metnier from Stade Rennais as well? I know it was someone over in Liga.
It was a team that had moved up. It was a lower level team that had moved up the last year that Metnier was there, I believe.
Okay.
So it wasn't Stade Rennais, because
Stade de Reims, that's who it
was.
was.
Stade de Reims, yeah.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, playing French soccer like that, I would definitely credit that with a little bit for that particular chemistry. You also saw some crosses going into Fragapane, who could get on the end of that. Mm-hmm. I would credit that with probably just coming back from the break. I'm mostly coming back from the break. Because now they've had enough time to practice with each other, and they are now going into the game, hopefully on the same page.
I think it's a lot of trust too, Connor. Yeah. I think it's Metnier knows these guys are professionals now. Not saying that guys like Dotson and some other guys aren't professionals, but I think Metnier knows these guys are veterans and they can do certain things, and he's more comfortable giving those passes, making those passes, those crosses, those lead passes in there, knowing these guys can do something with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
So we get to the, let's see, what do we get to the?
And one thing I want to bring up, we're talking about these chances. Metnier created a couple of them. Nico nearly scored his first, nearly scored in his debut in the 8th minute. I mean, there was a lot of excitement, and it was pretty much all Minnesota. But like one opportunity that I wanted to really bring up was in the 36th minute, Ja'Cory Hayes, and that's why I brought up the midfield earlier. The midfield of Ja'Cory Hayes and Hassani Dotson, Will Trapp, they came up big, but Ja'Cory Hayes, huge takeaway in the 36th minute. He then made a long run down the right hand side, and then this is where it kind of got exciting with the new players in the lineup, because I mean, Ja'Cory Hayes, after his takeaway, came down the right side, crossed it in. If my memory serves me correctly, Hanu had a shot on goal. It was saved by the goalkeeper who gave up the rebound, and then Franco had a chance, but it was saved again, blocked. But it was just really close. Or is that?
That was the goal, dude. That was the goal.
That was the goal.
I think I'm thinking the second half, but I mean, basically, what I'm getting at is just how those players making those runs, those well-timed runs together, just being in the right spot at the right time.
No, I mean, the goal was, you're right, Dave. Ja'Cory Hayes on that goal, he got the ball, made the tackle, got it at midfield, got it up the pitch, got it to Anu in the midfield, right in front of goal, really. And it was right there. Anu takes a shot. The goaltender defends it, of course. Fragapane gets the rebound, and it's game over. I mean, when you're taking shots like that, like Anu did from that range, and a goaltender has to make a sudden move just to block a shot, and Fragaponi is right there to get the rebound. I mean, that's what you're looking for. I mean, it was perfect. All the guys were up where they needed to be. Everyone was in position. It's something we haven't seen this year.
Right. Exactly.
So we get that goal, guys, and we're off and running. I mean, remember now, this is Dallas. We're in Dallas. Nothing is a given in Dallas, but at least we're up 1-0.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's yeah, sorry for the confusion, but that's where I think I got my timeline mixed up a little bit trying to, we watched the game on Saturday and then I was going back and looking at it. And then it was because it was just a minute later that Hanu had just a brilliant, another opportunity created in the midfield by it was Ja'Cory Hayes. And I think it was Will Trapp that forced a turnover, but Ja'Cory Hayes was right there and Dotson got it up there, chipped it up to Hanu. And unfortunately, the shot was blocked. But I don't know if you're looking at that, but that sequence that happened within 2 minutes of the goal and that second opportunity was so close together that I think it just got scrambled in my mind. But it was almost back to back, but it was just relentless attack and really good opportunities for Minnesota. And that's why you kind of felt. I remember thinking going into the first half is even after that moment. Or those moments going, 41st, 42nd minute thinking, Minnesota needs to get another goal here because they deserve one, because the chances created by Minnesota was pretty impressive. All while being said, Dallas was doing just nothing going forward.
Well, and until we came out of the half, and then it's like the field tilted. It was like, hello, Dallas was just on the attack and we couldn't do jack shit to stop it. It was ridiculous how the field tilted in the second half. Dallas, of course, I think they made a change pretty much right, within a minute of the first half, or actually right at the half, they made two changes. Two significant changes. Yes. Of course, Adrian Heath doesn't believe in making changes at halftime because he's Adrian Heath. Things are going well. So let's keep going with what we're doing.
Keep the flow of the game going. And they were just, again, remember watching it, Dave, and we're just getting pissed because they just kept hitting us. And I'm going, when are we going to concede here? Because at some point it's going to happen.
I'm pretty sure I said before. I know what we're leading to, but before Dallas eventually scored, I'm pretty sure it's coming. There's one coming because it just had that feeling. And it almost happened right after halftime, 47th minute. And, Tyler Miller fortunately made a great save. But I think that was kind of where it started to maybe be an issue with DeBasi because he was kind of turned out. I think the one I'm talking about just after halftime was where Tyler Miller played the ball out to DeBasi, and DeBasi it was a bad pass that got intercepted and led to a big shot, which required a save from Tyler Miller. But I don't know. It's hard to, it's really hard. I don't know, because tactically Dallas didn't change all that much, but those two subs came in. I don't know if it was the fresh legs or what, but it was like the game flipped on its head and all of a sudden it was just Dallas that was relentless. And at least for the first, 20, 30 minutes of the second half, Minnesota had nothing going forward whatsoever.
Well, and then of course, Adrian Heath tries to say, okay, let's get some new legs in there. So he does make two substitutions. He gets Ethan Finley in there for Nico, and he gets Ozzie Alonso in there for Ja'Cory Hayes, which is good.
Yep.
But
those are good subs.
Not enough to stop what was going to happen. Chase Gasper gets a freaking yellow card, which he can get a yellow card every flipping game we play, guys. The guy is just, even your dog knows about Chase Gasper.
Yeah, I know, right? He's just so angry at it.
I bring up Chase Gasper and Connor's dog gets all crazy. That's the problem. But there was no way we were going to stop Dallas at that point. They were like a rolling boulder coming at us, My concern was, And I don't know if I brought this up when we were watching it, Dave. My concern was the fact that Dallas had so much momentum. They were going to score a goal, but I was concerned they were going to score not one, but probably 2 or 3 goals, just the way they were coming at us.
Yeah, I mean, well, quite frankly, credit Tyler Miller because he definitely made a couple key saves in the first half, but especially the second half. But it was relentless. And you know what, I it's just hard to put a finger on it. I mean, maybe this is where I get to take the easy way out and blame the weather, but I just don't want to go there. I don't know. I think an adjustment had to be made tactically a little bit earlier than when it was done. I mean, maybe Heath should have made some halftime changes too, even though, going through, you had, Ja'Cory Hayes, I credited him with a pretty good first half, but that changed. And I don't know if he just didn't react quickly enough or what, but yeah. Well, it was brutal. But I mean, getting into that goal, I mean, let's get to it. 68th minute. And it was again a goal that we kind of thought might be coming, but it was well deserved. It was Ricardo Pepi. And then this is kind of what I hinted at earlier. It was Dibassy, who, I haven't been one to criticize Dibassy all year long, but he clearly got turned around. He wasn't applying the pressure and got turned around. And I wonder if that was because of the fact, and I know that Heath mentioned it. It's like when you get a yellow card in the second minute and then got to play the rest of the game with a yellow, you're not being as aggressive in that center back role as you'd expect Dibassy to normally be. And I think that was a big part of it.
And that's a problem. That's, when you get a yellow card right away in a game, I think you're pretty much on your back heels the rest of the game. I mean, it is what it is. You don't want to get that second yellow card. You just can't afford to. And the other issue too is, of course, guys, there's really no guy that Heath can bring in for Dibassy. I mean, there is and there isn't.
You have, I mean, of course, we touched on it. Ritalia's away, he started for Finland today, actually, with Robin Lod. And so Ritalia is not an option. I mean, I guess basically your only option,
Kalman.
Brent Kalman, but you're in the second minute of the game. You don't want to do that. I just wonder, though. I mean, I know he's not a fan favorite. I know it wouldn't be a first choice defender, not even my first choice defender. I mean, I'm happy with Dibassy, starting in the center back, especially if you got Gasper out wide. But yeah, maybe after witnessing what happened in the first, 5-10 minutes of that half, maybe in that first window of substitutions that he made when he brought Finlay in and Ozzy Alonso, maybe you do bring a Kalman in, because he is, if we'll love him or hate him, can be a physical defender. I know he had some bad games early this year, but he can be physical. He's a big body presence that maybe could have kind of ebbed that flow that Dallas had going for him at that time.
Yeah.
Well, guys, after the goal by Dallas, Heath decides, well, I don't want to lose this game. So he goes, we're bringing Abila, and we'll bring in Ray as well. We'll get those two guys in there. And now we got our offense back, supposedly. Now, watching this game, you could tell that Ray was not 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. Was he not 100%, or, because I know what you're getting at, Tony, was he not 100%, or was he rusty? I think from being off for basically now, I mean, because he didn't play, I could be wrong, correct me if I am, but he didn't play much in the game against RSL prior to the international break. He didn't start. I don't think he played at all, did he? So
yeah,
you could credit that to rustiness, maybe. And what we're talking about, of course, is Reynoso had, even I think a minute after coming on, he had a pretty big opportunity that, I mean, if you ask Reynoso, he should have scored, would have scored, but did not.
But think about it. That's 4 subs now, guys. I mean, when's the last time Heath has made 4 subs in a game?
I think it's a new record.
I think it's a new record.
Yeah.
And he ended up making 5 subs in this game. So giddy up,
Yeah, because we should. Yeah, he brought in Agadello for Frankopane
at the end.
Towards in the last 10 minutes of the game. But so wait, is that a record? Have we done that even this year? 5 subs?
I don't think
I can't remember the last time we've done 5 subs.
No.
Yeah. So we'll call it a record, whether it's a record.
Call it a record. And there was a lot of action on Twitter the next day saying, well, now he's finally figured out how to play this game, I guess,
Yeah. It's to me, it's close because, I mean, I just feel like the changes, I'm not going to criticize it. I'm not going to get on my soapbox and say they should have brought Coleman. It was just a thought. I don't mind the changes he made, especially in Dallas, to bring in some fresh legs. And you've got players like, Reynoso and Abila on the bench. Why not? And then Agadello, let's get after it. Because I will say this, like towards the end of the game, it did kind of shift again. Minnesota had some brilliant chances.
Yeah.
Even in added time at the very end of the game, Reynoso had another, even probably, I think it was the 3rd or 4th added minute. Reynoso had one that he really should have scored. But anyways, Minnesota had their chances. They did have they finally, after the first 15, 20, 30 minutes of that second half, they finally had some, they finally started going forward again. And, maybe you credit the substitutions for that, but I don't know. If you want to criticize Heath, I'd say not too little because he made 5, but in my opinion, it was too late.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's a point, guys. At 1 point, if that's the best we can do against Dallas in Dallas, I'll take it for now. Remember, this is now our 4th. We're on a 4-game unbeaten streak after we lost 4 games in a row. So, hey, we're moving somewhere. My biggest concern out of this whole game is what's going on with Ray. Because I think there's some things they're not talking about. And this has come up. His leg problem has come up earlier in the season. And if his leg is not still 100%, that's concerning to me because we don't have anybody else.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the optimism in myself coming out, but I'm not as concerned as you are at this point, Tony, for 2 reasons. One, yes, they're coming off a long break here. In Ray's case, it's 4 weeks, but there is the fact that they do play again on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Maybe Heath was looking at that. They've got 3 games in a week, essentially 8 days. Maybe he was just looking at from that point of view.
Yeah.
So, but clearly, Ray came out and played. He played 15, 20 minutes to end the game. So it's not like his injury is severe. He wouldn't have been out there for the last 20 minutes. It was severe, but
no.
So I'm not going to raise the alarm. That's all I'm saying is I'm not raising the flag of the alarm bells yet because there's a game on Wednesday. Number 1, number 2, he did play in the game. So. Right.
And I think I'm with you, Dave. I don't think I'm as concerned as you might be, Tony, because I saw he might have missed a couple of easy chances. He might have had an off day, but I still saw the way he passed, and he made some good playmaking opportunities against Dallas. So if that's him at less than 100%, I'll take it. And I'm still not sure he should start in the game on Wednesday. Maybe they should bring him on in the second half, but I would definitely not count him out. I know you agree with me, right, Henry?
Yeah, Henry's.
But maybe you got to play him. You got to play it safe. And it's been on record. He's played through injuries leading up to the international break. But come on, Connor, don't you want to see that? Don't you want to see a new up top and then have Ray in the middle with Frankopane and either Nico Hansen or Finlay out, right? Don't you want to see that lineup?
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody wants to see that lineup. That's the lineup. That's really the lineup we were promised at the beginning of the season. Really, when all this shit started to go and we're like, we're making all these changes, this is a lineup that Heath wanted. So,
and sorry, with what we have available, but ultimately maybe you'd have Lude out, right? But with what we have going into Wednesday, that's what I want to see.
And we'll talk about Robin Lude in a little bit, but really, this is the lineup he wanted. Now, if he gets that starting lineup on Wednesday and it scores 3 goals, then Heath is a genius. He gets that lineup on Wednesday and scores nothing or 1 goal, then I'm sitting there going, okay, well, when are we going to see this great offense that Heath is trying to create? These pieces still aren't together yet. These pieces are still kind of just pieces, and we've seen glimpses and things, but we got to see the whole picture here at some point.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But I think I guess if we're trying to draw positives out of the result in Dallas, and I think there is some of that. These pieces, and Tony, you probably mean Adrian Anu and Frangipane. I mean, they made an impact on the game. Of course, Frangipane scored in his debut, which now we've got debutants scoring in their debut in back-to-back weeks because, of course, Nico Hansen scored against RSL with a late equalizer. So that's I mean, so if you're picking at straws, you're trying to find positives, that would be it, I guess. So but yeah, we haven't. Go ahead, Connor.
One thing I picked out was that Frangipane definitely exceeded my expectations of him, because I saw his stats from when he played in South America, and they weren't particularly impressive. But his style of play against Dallas was very impressive to me. So I would hope to see more of the same against Austin on Wednesday. And hopefully Ray is 100%, and hopefully we can see Anu up top again. And if Frangipane continues this, maybe we can turn him to a European club or something. Maybe he would be maybe in a couple of years he'll be worth a little bit more.
We'll see.
Maybe as we roll into this coming game on Wednesday, maybe Heath will throw us a curveball and start Ramon Abila up top, and then who knows?
Well,
I mean, I gotta admit though, it's like I'm really excited. I'm like, never mind the start of the kickoff. Never mind kickoff. I'm just waiting. I'm checking Twitter, like looking for that starting 11, looking for that, because it's hard to predict right now. I mean, I thought I had it on Saturday night and I didn't, and it's going to be even much more so on Wednesday night.
Well, guys, coming up here, and right now we're sitting in, I think it's like 11th place, 12th place.
It is 11th place. Which there you go,
it's
Tony.
very nostalgic.
It is, and I remember, was it 2018 and probably 2017, we were floating in that 10, 11, 9. Oh, we'd bump up to 8 or something and back down to the 10. It was always consistent. But yeah, you want to joke about it, but I mean, it was important to get a point on the road because that kept Dallas in the basement, otherwise they would have leapfrogged Minnesota easily. So the thing that we want to see the floodgates open because they're sitting in 11th place, 8 matches played with 8 points. That 1 point per game average won't cut it. But of course, when you're talking about 4 losses to start the season, maybe sitting at 1 point per game isn't too bad right now. And after 8, the one thing that is concerning for everybody, every fan, everybody on that team and club is the 7 goals scored in 8 games. But
right.
Yeah. Well, and looking ahead the next 3 games, guys, I think on the last podcast I talked about this. I said the next 4 games would be key to us, like getting back into the playoffs. Now, getting a point against Dallas is great, but FC Austin Wednesday night, we gotta win that game. We need 3 points out of that game.
Yes, we do.
And then after that,
I hate. Sorry to interrupt, Tony, and I'll let you continue after. But I hate using the term "must win" this early in the season. But I'm not going to call it must win. But if I was going to, this would be a game. You're coming back to home after a couple games on the road, to sandwich.
We can't drop any more points at home.
No.
Yeah.
You can't tread. You can't even get a draw at home. You can't tread water right now. This is not treading water time. This is not go time.
Unless you're talking about the cream of the crop. I mean, if you're talking about a team that is also under the playoff line, like Austin is currently, albeit early in the season, you got to just take care of business.
Well, you got to get 3 points against Austin. You got to go then to Portland on Saturday. You got to get at least a draw in Portland. if not a victory. You have to get a draw out of that one. And then you got San Jose at home on the 3rd of July. You got to beat San Jose at home. You got to get at least 7 points on the next 3 games.
Absolutely.
You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you don't, all of a sudden, Tony, you're talking about a 4-game stretch, and if you don't do that well, then we're going to be talking, 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, we're going to be talking about how Minnesota United is sitting in 11th position. Okay, fine, there's still games to go, but without making a move, if you don't make a move in that window, it's just, I don't see it all how it'll happen.
Well, if you think about if you look at the standings, you see the difference between 11th and 5th, which is us and Portland, who we play in a couple matches time. You just mentioned, Tony. We're at 8 points. Portland's only at 12 points.
Mm-hmm.
And judging by their goal difference, which is -1 right now, they're not a particularly impressive team in 5th place. They've lost 4 games and they've won 4 games. That's pretty much it. They haven't tied any. And we've historically had the upper hand against Portland too. So I think we have a pretty good shot within Portland to get at least 1 point. Then you've got, I'll go back to Austin. We're going to want revenge on Wednesday. Cause they beat us in their first trip to Allianz and now they're coming back. We're definitely going to want revenge, which means we would leapfrog them. I think the way we're playing, we'll do okay because Austin also is not having a great season. And then we've got San Jose, who we've ever since 2019, we've always been able to just take to church. So I think with the same coaching scheme and the same team, I think we can beat San Jose at home as well. So I think our chances at 7 points are pretty good.
Yeah, chances are good, and it's got to happen. We got to make a move now. I know it's early in the season, but this team has way too much talent to be just treading water or dropping points at home to an expansion team.
Right.
All right. So our next game, of course, guys, is Wednesday against Austin. Hopefully it's a victory. And like I said, then we got Portland coming up on Saturday. So
didn't Austin just open their new stadium?
They did. And everybody was very excited about that. And of course, we talked about this before the podcast. Wednesday's game at Allianz Field will be close to 100%.
Right.
Right, Dave?
Well, yes. I think we might as well just call it 100% capacity, right? But I think due to MLS regulations, it'll be just slightly less than that. Call it 95%, 97% full. Just, you might not see the first row all the way around the stadium full, but it's going to be exciting.
It is, and it's going to be a good time. I won't be there.
No, I don't think I'll be able to be there. I'm curious to see if our former co-host David Sterling will be there, but Connor, are you going to be there?
Oh yes, I will be there.
Yeah.
I'll be sitting in the same seats as always. Actually, this is the first game we're getting our old seats back, so we're
nice.
So that'll be nice. We're sitting closer to the halfway line. I think we're probably at about the at about the 20-25 yard line. I want to say right around there. So it's I'm really excited because to be able to feel that environment again with the whole stadium just rocking and singing and seeing the game play, and to see barely any seats empty in the stadium, that'll be something else. And it's a feeling that I've almost forgotten, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, I remember, at the opener, this year where they had 4,000 people in the stand,
4,400.
4,400. I just remember how amazing that felt, and that was 20% capacity or 25 or whatever the number was. I just remember the feeling of being back, even in that atmosphere, was wonderful. It was great. So
you heard the noise when it was just 20% full that day, and it sounded like a full stadium, which I can only imagine how loud it's going to be on Wednesday night. So it's a day I've been looking forward to for a long time, gentlemen, and I'm sure you guys have been too. And so it's going to be fun. gonna
It will be. It'll be great.
I'll love it. Yeah, I mean, it'll almost be interesting, assuming I don't get the last minute call down there, but it'll just be interesting watching it on TV just to hear the fans coming through the broadcast. I think it's just gonna be super exciting.
Yeah, it's one of these games I'll have to get back out there again, depending on games and if Dave is in China.
Yeah,
seriously. So let's take just a short break, guys, which really isn't a break because honestly it's not. But when we come back, guys, we'll talk a little bit about Euro 2020 and some history from Connor, since we haven't talked for that in a while. So we'll be back in 1 minute.
Cool.
Okay, we're back. That 1 minute was very short.
Wow, that was short.
It was short, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those station breaks type of deals. Got to take a station break. So anywho, guys, talked about the Loons a little bit, and we have some Loons playing in Euro 2020, which everybody asked me when I talk about Euro 2020, we're not soccer fans, why do they call it Euro 2020? Well, it was supposed to happen last year.
Right.
It's happening this year. They're just going to keep the name as Euro 2020, which is fine. Just like the Tokyo Olympics are Tokyo Olympics 2020, even though they're happening in 2021. It's the way it works. But when I was in Vegas, I got a chance to watch a lot of Euro 2020 games. Unfortunately, I missed Italy twice. Once because I was leaving the day they had their first game. Actually, I think their first game was Friday before I left, but I was at work. And their second game they played, I was on the plane, and this is the cool thing, right? So, Dave, you're a Delta guy, right?
Yes,
Dave's a Delta guy. So on Delta planes, they have free entertainment. And one of those free entertainment things is they have Dish Network or whatever the heck it is. And they have live TV. And I was like, oh, shit, I get to watch the Italy game on live TV on the plane on ESPN while I'm flying home. I punch in it. It starts playing. And then all of a sudden it says, oh, there's an error with your box.
No.
Can't play live TV. This is the shitty part, Connor. This is the shitty part. My box was bad, had an error. The guy in front of me is watching it. I can see through the seats. He's able to watch it. And I'm like, son of a bitch. So I'm like hitting I'm trying to restart the damn thing. It will not freaking work at all.
Oh, that sucks. Cause that was the Italy-Wales game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Oh man. See, you
yeah.
and I were on opposite sides of the spectrum. I was cheering for Wales, being a former Brit myself. And our buddy, my buddy Scott, who was on the podcast a couple episodes ago, he's living in Cardiff right now, so I'm sure he was cheering for Wales. Congrats to your Italians, though. They came out with a full 9 points. Very well done.
Of course they did. They're a much different team this year, Connor.
They're impressive. They flew under the radar, but they're a dark horse. They could. Well, they're not a dark horse, but I think they flew under the radar compared to a lot of other teams.
Well, after missing that last World Cup, they've retooled their whole system. And now they're more of an attacking team than I've ever seen them before. I mean, they attack like you would not believe. It is ridiculous.
Well, yeah,
what they do.
7 goals for and no goals conceded.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And of course Buffon is no longer there, so they don't have the star goalie anymore, but they're doing some things on offense that I have never seen an Italy team do before. And I've watched Italy for numerous years, and this is this offense is new and fresh, and it moves.
Right.
But
When's the last time you saw Italy without Gianluigi Buffon? That's that's ridiculous. I remember watching him when he was young back when I was living in London.
Yeah, it's been since the 90s, pretty much. I mean, it was late 90s. To maybe a couple of years ago. Yeah, he hasn't played for a couple of years for Italy, but it was weird watching it. But the other funny thing too is my wife had the live TV on hers next to me, and I was hitting her. And I'm like, "Can I watch it?" She's like, "No, you can't."
Oh man!
So I was like, "Oh shit!"
A bullet.
Yeah, I was like, "Whatever. I'll just miss another freaking Italy game." So whatever. So the crazy thing that happened, of course, guys, not crazy, but scary was the first day I was out there. The Finland, is it Denmark?
Finland, Denmark. Yes,
Denmark.
that's right.
The first day I was out there, guys, watching that. And then all of a sudden Ericsson goes down.
Yeah.
And I'm texting you guys saying, holy shit, they stopped the game, the Finland-Denmark game, because Ericsson's down. And
that must have been a Monday or Tuesday, because I remember I wasn't able to watch. I think I was in the middle of work when that happened. So I was not watching it live.
Was it Monday?
It was insane. Like you saw, if you ever watch the replay, I don't know if there is a replay on YouTube anymore.
Oh,
but,
maybe
it was Saturday.
It could have been a Saturday, but for whatever reason,
like the second day.
Yep.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I couldn't watch the game, and I wasn't watching it live when it happened. And it definitely, my phone blew up. Obviously, Tony, you texted ESPN. I mean, we got alerts. I mean, it was getting alerts from all over, and so eventually, I didn't see it when it happened, but I certainly watched the replay. Just scary. I mean, just unbelievably scary because he was running, and all of a sudden, he kind of.
He just collapsed.
Sure, I don't need to describe it because I'm sure everybody that's listening to this podcast have probably seen the replay, but just, I don't know how else you describe that other than just extremely scary and just like what happened. And then the stories that came out after the fact, though, of his teammates essentially saving his life, performing CPR, on him before he actually had to, I think they used a defibrillator on him.
Yeah. So a couple of things about that. I remember I was watching it live, and a camera angle did get a sight of Christian Eriksson's face when he was down on the ground, and there was nothing in his eyes.
Yeah.
There was no life, no expression, no nothing. That to me was like was scary within itself. And then everybody was, you saw all of the Danish players covering him up and trying to keep it private and everything. And but I did manage to get a glimpse of like what was happening, and I saw the guy performing CPR, and then they used the defibrillator, and I was like, holy shit, this is insane. This is really serious. Like he could die. And then I saw a report a few days later when Christian Eriksson was in the hospital. He was recovering. They were doing more tests, and luckily now he's okay and he's out of the hospital. He's been discharged. But a report said that when the medics got out there, Christian Eriksson was gone. He was completely lifeless. They had to basically do everything they could.
Yeah, it was.
Well, and that's why, like, credit to his teammate that literally performed CPR on him.
Yeah.
While he was on the ground. I mean, he must have realized quite quickly, obviously had the training to realize that he had either wasn't breathing, no pulse, whatever. I'm assuming it was both of the above, and just I don't know, like, it's amazing the reaction of his teammates and just his entire team and everybody on that field just to react to that as quickly as they did. And obviously, to have the medical equipment that they had, but I'm literally speechless. I can't even because I can't find the words to put it into play. Like, it's just incredible. And
well, I told you guys when I texted you guys, it reminded me of Hank Gathers, who played for Loyola Marymount back in I think it was the 80s. Maybe the early 90s. He was a basketball player in college, and he collapsed during a game. The same deal, cardiac arrest, died on the floor of the basketball court. And that was that. And if you ever watched the video of that happening, to see him try to walk up the court and then all of a sudden collapse is like just the most horrifying thing in the world. And then seeing Eriksson do kind of pretty much the same thing.
Definitely.
That was holy shit, man.
Isn't it? I mean, you're talking in both cases, Tony, you're talking about world-class athletes, in the middle of a game doing that. And so it's just, it's extremely scary because they're they're just at the top of their game. You would never pen them as potential, people to suffer from cardiac arrest, and they're literally it happened during a game. So, it just makes you think about everything. Like,
it's just a sight you don't. It's just a sight you don't want to see on a soccer field at all.
No.
I remember when I was a kid, and it was the 2003 Confederations Cup, and I was watching it. I was watching it. I was still living over in London, and Cameroon was playing in it, and I actually did see. There was a player that played for Cameroon, and he played for Manchester City as well. Mark Vivian Foe. He actually collapsed on the pitch and died because of a hole in his heart at the time. And that I was watching it, and I was just, it's like you said, Tony, it's a horrific sight. It's there really are no words. It's
I think one thing we talked about before we recorded is, and we should bring up, is so they basically fitted Christian Eriksen. He had successful surgery, came out of the hospital, he's released. I think he basically got, like, what would you call it, an EKG, or basically I think it is a pacemaker, essentially.
Yeah, it's like an ICD or something like that.
ICD, yeah, where they'd implant it in your heart. Actually, I'm looking at now, implantable cardiovascular defibrillator. Sorry,
ICD.
Mispronounced, but ICDs. Yeah. So basically, but the thing that I thought was really interesting was, when I was watching the Euros, when that kind of news came out, and there was a broadcasted match between Netherlands and Connor, this guy, but it was Daley Blintz. Daley Blintz, yeah. And so that was Eriksen's former teammate at Ajax, and he was literally playing in the game for Netherlands with that device implanted in him. So I look at that as, that's secondary, but at least, if Christian Eriksen wants to go down the road of a full recovery and come back and play, professionally for his country and club, at least he's got a teammate that literally, has the same kind of device implanted in him. So, he's got that hope out there. And I just thought that was remarkable, the coincidence of that situation. So,
well, it was kind of a shock, for one of the first games of Euro 2020 to have that happen. The game did go on, and there were a lot of people who were not happy about that. But,
well, I should say, as we record this, I mean, unfortunately, Denmark did lose that game to Finland, and Denmark lost their next game. But as we record this, we're happy to say, at least for fans of Christian Eriksen and Denmark, that they advanced into the second the knockout stage due to their Russia today. So,
well, they ran right over them today.
Let's talk about some of these games. Well, one other game, guys, I want to talk about after that game, which is horrific. One of the games I watched when I was in Las Vegas, and I texted you guys about it, was a Sweden-Spain matchup.
Right.
Now, this game, guys, I mean, I don't think you guys watched the whole game. I think it was like during the day or whatever. It was probably Monday or whatever. I think it was Monday. I'm watching it in my cabana at the Bally's while the girls are all at the pool. And I'm going, holy shit, this is an incredible game, because Sweden only had possession, 25% possession during the game. Spain had possession most of the time.
I mean, that sounds like classic Spain to me, though.
Yeah, but they were Spain was just like berating Sweden. Sweden was just like, couldn't stop them, and just, get the ball and turn it over, whatever. And they ended up tying the damn game. It was a 0-0 tie.
It was
an incredible freaking game. But it's also one of those games, Connor, where people who aren't soccer fans will go, well, nobody scored, so that must have been super
boring.
Yeah, it was actually, it was so freaking entertaining. It was
I'm
fantastic.
Sure. Not just because it's a 0-0 game doesn't mean it wasn't entertaining. I've seen 0-0 games that are super entertaining.
But it was,
of course I'm joking with you. And I love this time of year. We've got the European Championships going on, and you've got Copa America. So there's like soccer games from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. And yeah, like, 0-0 game is not boring. I think it's
But
but was it the chances created in that game, Tony, that made it?
Now that's the crazy part about it, Dave, and you'll know this because we have watched the Loons have terrible possession and then end up winning a game like 1-0 or 2-0 because they get chances, right? So it's kind of like watching the Loons from previous years where, Spain was just hitting them. And all of a sudden, like Sweden would get a breakaway and you'd be like, holy shit, Sweden's going to score. They're like a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2 or whatever it was. And they get down there and they get close, but Spain's goalie would make a save or whatever. Like, oh, there's their chance. And then, of course, Spain would have the ball for another 10 minutes. And then there'd be another one where they'd get an opportunity. And it was just like this back and forth. And it was like unbelievable.
I feel like even in Spain's heyday, maybe going back, 10 years ago now or 11 years ago when Spain won the World Cup.
Yeah.
I feel like even most of their games were kind of, if you're not like a big soccer fan, you wouldn't be at fault for calling some of Spain's games even then boring, because they when they won the World Cup in 2010 against the Netherlands.
Right.
I think it was 1-0. I mean, it was barely, and that was just classic Spain. It was just like possession, and then you get caught sleeping for just that 1 second. That's all it takes, and then they capitalize. So
that is so true. Tony, I'm looking at the Google match report. Do you know what the final possession count was?
I have no idea.
86-14.
Holy shit. That's ridiculous.
That is, I've never seen a possession count like that before.
Those big dumb Swedes, I tell you, they were just like, it was amazing.
And now what's even more amazing is Sweden's top in the group.
I know, that's the amazing part about it, right? Yeah. I mean, these guys defensively were just like on point. It was like they stopped Spain hardcore, but Spain will always get the ball back, and it was just like this. They couldn't get it out of their defensive end. It was like, just get it out. But then when Sweden get it out of the defensive end, they'd speed up the pitch. And like, God, there were so many chances. I was watching that game down at the Cabana, and then I was up in my room for a little bit watching it. And I was like, son of a bitch, this is ridiculous. I want Sweden to score so fucking bad.
Right.
I wanted the Swedes to score, man. I just wanted them to score, but they never did.
Well, who's in the same group of Sweden and Spain is
Slovakia. Yeah.
That's
right. And a certain Jan Gregus.
And did they play tomorrow? Because as we sit here talking, Spain is actually sitting in third place with 2 points. So
as of now, tomorrow the only games are Croatia, Scotland, and Czech Republic and my England.
Okay.
England playing for that top spot there. Slovakia plays against Spain on Wednesday.
Yeah. And then Sweden plays Poland. It's an interesting grouping, because really now if Sweden beats Poland, they're moving on.
Right.
If Slovakia beats Spain, they're moving on.
Yeah. And it's very likely that Spain's going out if they
even if Slovakia ties Spain, Spain is probably not going to go.
Right.
Because now the crazy thing is, so some third place teams make it, which brings us back to Finland, because
four of the six make it.
Four of the six. Yep.
Yeah. So Finland lost today. They're sitting with 3 points, along with Denmark. Denmark is moving on. They got the enough to get out of Group B. So Finland's with 3 points. Russia's with 3 points. You got, let's see who else we got. No, that's about it. Ukraine has 3 points. So they're in the mix. You've got, Croatia and Scotland can't get 3 points. So if either of those two teams win, they're through.
Right.
Slovakia, if they lose, they've got 3 points. They could go through. Spain, if they tie, potentially they could go through.
Portugal plays against France. They're in a third place spot right now.
And Germany's got 3 points too. Germany loses.
It's really cool how it's going to come down to basically the last match day to determine those fourth place, and second and third for that matter. But I think Switzerland is the only. I believe Switzerland right now is the only third place team that is going through, because they're on 4 points.
Yeah, they're on 4 points. Yep.
Yeah. Which actually, before we move on here, Shout out to Austria, who qualified in a second place position today. Who would ever thought that?
Yeah, they beat
geez.
Ukraine. It was one of those games where I had on the background while I was working, so I didn't really get to watch it closely, but I was certainly listening to everything that went on. And that was a bit of a surprise, I think.
Yeah.
At least if you're Ukrainian, it was. But
I was definitely expecting Ukraine to win that game.
You know, it's amazing, guys. Unless you're Turkey or North Macedonia, every other team has a chance here. I mean, really.
I love that. I mean, it's coming. So it's going to, I mean, things will change. I think we'll know a lot more, tomorrow as we record this, but it will definitely come down to literally the last match day of the group stages to see who goes through. That's cool.
Yep. We'll see if the Finns can get through. I hope they do.
This is a bit more exciting, even because you have six 4-team groups. It's a bit more exciting than say that Copa America, who has 2 5-team groups where they only eliminate 2 teams, one out of each group going into the knockout stage. So there's a little more excitement in the Euros, as there always is.
So that's Euro 2020, guys, and it is getting a little crazy. It is, it's fun. It's fun watching these games. It's fun watching some European soccer, getting ready for the World Cup. Next year, is it 2022, guys?
It's
2022
next year.
Yeah, that's the only caveat is where instead of literally a year from now, you'd expect the World Cup to happen. It'll be in I think it's basically starts around Thanksgiving. Yeah, and finishes towards almost Christmas. So it'll be kind of cool. Soccer in winter, but
that's the only place you really can play soccer in Qatar.
Yeah.
And imagine playing soccer in 122-degree weather. You can't do that.
I can hardly imagine playing soccer in 72-degree weather, let alone 122. But what a great, we're sitting here in the middle of June. We've got the European Championships going on. You got Copa America. But yeah, the real excitement, at least if you're a U.S. men's national team fan, it starts early September, I think September 2nd of this year, and goes through the end of March of 2022. That's the World Cup qualifying process. But at least we have the women's national team. They're going to be in the Olympics starting about a month from now in late July. So that we'll have that to look forward to as well. It's soccer.
Everybody, don't forget about the Gold Cup too.
Yeah. Oh, the Gold Cup.
And we should say that I believe is Hassani Dotson on the preliminary roster, the 45-man. So
yeah.
Oh, we should. And
where's Gasper on that though? Shouldn't Chase Gasper be there?
He's not there. No. Don't make Connor's dog bark anymore. He doesn't like Chase Gasper. But before we move on to history, guys, one final note about the whole international play. Sterling brought this up the other day, and I'm not surprised about it. Mexico is in a little bit of trouble with their fans doing some homophobic chants, really, is what they were doing.
Chants, yep.
Doing that at some games.
Well,
games
I
stopped.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the final it was the
Nations League,
the CONCACAF Nation League's final. It was out in Denver, and they literally stopped the game. And at the time I didn't really know what was going on, but the referees kind of literally warned the fans. There was like the PA system was going on saying stop this, stop that, and at the time I didn't know what was going on. I think Tony, you had brought it up a few days before that, so it was kind of coming into my mind. But yeah, the sanctions that they place were severe.
They are now. The minor sanctions are the next 2 home games from Mexico are going to be played without fans.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I wouldn't call that minor, because guess what the next 2 home games for Mexico are? They're World Cup
qualifiers. Yeah.
That's not a minor sanction.
Well, and Sterling brought up the fact that they could be then ejected from the next World Cup. And also
a points deduction.
Well, not points deduction. They could be just ejected from the next World Cup. And also they could potentially, if this continues, not be allowed to host the World Cup when it comes to North America in 2026, right? So they could be told there's going to be no games played in any stadiums in Mexico in 2026
Okay, that would qualify as major,
which would be a major thing for Mexico, and would open up the possibilities of some other cities in the United States and potentially Canada hosting some more games. I don't think it's going to come to that. I think they're going to realize they've been idiots about this whole thing, because there's no place in soccer or any fucking sport to be yelling homophobic slurs at people on the damn pitch.
No.
Have we not passed that point in our society now? Do we need to be doing this shit all the time? I don't understand it. I don't get it.
No, I don't either, especially after, they've been warned more than a handful of times. It's really, it's upsetting.
Throwing shit at players on the field. Come on, this isn't WWF wrestling here. I mean,
another thing about that final in Denver was just, people were throwing bottles.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Did you guys see Gio Reyna got hit pretty hard by?
That was a full can. That was a full can of beer.
I'm sure it was, and then that was awful. Seeing the slow motion replay. I mean, when he came out injured, I didn't know what happened until I saw the replay. But then even Mexico's players got hit. Later on, it was just it was unbelievable.
Right.
It is not cool. Not cool, everybody.
Not at all.
No. So before we get out of here, Connor hasn't done some history in a while, so let's do some Minnesota soccer history, Connor.
All righty. Well, let's. What is today? June 21st, 2021. It is the summer solstice, everybody.
Yay.
So we're gonna go back to a week ago, June 21st. June 14th. Which one am I gonna do this time? Okay, we're gonna do in 2000. When the Thunder win the second round of the U.S. Open Cup against Mexico SC 7-0.
Mexico SC?
Yeah. Which I don't know where they come from or not.
Well, they're not from Mexico because it's the U.S. Open Cup, so it's got to be like Texas somewhere?
It must be. Maybe like New Mexico or...
Maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's like I couldn't find any information on it. Like it was weird. It's just they beat them, and I know they don't exist anymore. But Mexico SC. There you have it, folks. And they beat them 7-0 too.
Wow, kicked the shit out of them.
Yep, sure did. Moving on to the third round, and then we move on to June 15th. Let's say of 2010, the Stars win the first round match of the U.S. Open Cup against the Kansas City Athletics 4-2.
Now, interesting. They're called the Kansas City Athletics.
Yeah,
and you guys know why.
That was an original baseball team.
That was the original baseball team. Yeah,
right.
Became the Oakland Athletics. So
they could have called them Atletico KC.
They could have, but
that does have a much better ring to it, Connor.
Remember now, Connor.
Yeah,
we're talking about early. What year was this?
This was 2010.
2010?
Yeah.
Really? And they weren't thinking of Atletico KC at that point?
I guess not.
What kind of idiots do they have doing their marketing shit? Again, we're talking about marketing, but
maybe that's where Jeff Bezos got his start. I don't know.
I don't know.
That might be a stretch there, but yeah, I like that.
Moving on to June 16th of, let's say, we are going to say 1999, when the Thunder won a shootout against the Milwaukee Rampage after playing to a 1-1 draw.
Like the Rampage. Like that name.
I don't think I caught that game.
Yeah, I don't think I did.
No. 1999?
I might have. Probably.
It was because back then they did shootouts if you're tied after extra time.
That's right. Yep. The old shootout.
Yeah, and I think it was like the American style shootout where they ran up from the halfway line and tried to score against the keeper.
Try to make it like hockey.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we're gonna move to 1980, the year of the Miracle on Ice. This would have happened just a few months ago from here because the Kicks win against the Tampa Bay Rowdies 4-1.
Oh, the Rowdies.
Yeah, what's with the Kicks? I mean, that's throwback, but yeah, the Rowdies have been around for many years and still are. Yeah,
which is amazing that they're still around. It's amazing.
Yeah. Then we've got June 18th. Is there anything? Oh, here we go. 1976, the first year that the Kicks were around. They won 3-0 at the Washington Diplomats.
Of course, the Diplomats.
Which is good.
Good name.
I feel that's good.
In 76, I'm sure they were all wearing like red, white, and blue like shit. It was bicentennial stuff. It was nuts.
I mean, if that name hadn't been coined by the soccer team, you got teams like the Washington Nationals who currently play MLB. Right. So it would have been
didn't the Twins used to be the
Senators,
Washington Senators?
They were. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Moving on to June 19, and we are gonna go. Oh, here we go. 1978, when the Kicks lose 1-0 at the Oakland Stompers.
The what? The Stompers?
The Oakland Stompers.
Wow. Then I just what the hell is that? Really? What's a stomper?
Couldn't tell you. Maybe was Stomp on stage back then?
I don't think so. Stomp wasn't around yet. Was it like a dinosaur reference maybe? Because of
chompers and stompers?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Weird.
I mean, who thinks of the name like Stompers? Really? Do you sit around in the meeting going, all right, what's our team name? We got the Stars, we got the Kicks. How about the Stompers? Yeah, the Stompers sounds good.
Let alone the fact that who in Oakland is thinking of it? Like, hey, we're in Oakland. Let's call ourselves the Oakland Stompers.
Yeah, like what is the deal?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
It's a weird one. Moving on to 1981, June 20th. The Kicks win 3-2 against the Atlanta Chiefs.
Oh, Chiefs.
Yeah.
Well,
no.
I mean, I don't know how I feel about that one.
Native American stuff,
Did you say Atlanta? I mean, was it Atlanta?
Atlanta Chiefs.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, there still are said names out there. Kansas City.
Not for long.
Team. No.
Yeah.
Because Cleveland's changing their name after this year. The Indians are done. They're going to be.
Is that right?
I think it was as of this year or last year.
No, it's after this year. They're still the Indians technically. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A lot of sports writers are not using the Indians term anymore. They're calling it the Cleveland baseball team.
I think it's going to be. I think your professional teams are going to be changing quickly. But I mean, I'm curious about the collegiate level. Like, will the Florida Seminoles, for example, will they change that? That's going to be a little bit of. I mean, because in the Seminoles case, I mean, they have agreements with said tribes. Like
they do.
They do.
Like, who knows? But the professional teams are literally nicknames, so it would be much easier to change.
Cleveland's going to be the Cleveland Rocks.
Maybe you'll finally get your Cleveland Steamers.
Oh, Steamers, yes.
That'd be the one. That would be. And you know what? If they did Cleveland Steamers, oh my God, they'd sell much merchise. It'd be ridiculous.
Yes, they would.
That would
holy shit.
That would be classic Cleveland, in my
opinion. Just put a train engine on there. I mean, you just do a train engine at Cleveland Steamers. It's no big deal.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Like, what do you mean? What do you mean Steamers?
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
No idea.
The last one we're going to go with today, June 21st of 1980, which is the only stat of Minnesota soccer history this day. The Kicks lose 3-2 at the New England T-Men. It's 3-2. Yeah.
Oh, the tea. Well, you're talking about tea, like the drink,
tea, as in dumping the tea into the
Boston drink.
Harbor.
Yeah, the tea men.
I love that one. I do love that one. Yeah. I grew up in New England. I just love any reference to the Revolutionary War. That's awesome. I like.
Yeah,
I think it's a good name. I like it.
Yeah, it's a name. It's good. Yeah. Could come up with something a little better than tea men, but
yeah.
I mean,
but I get it. Yeah. It makes sense.
Fun fact about that, guys. Actually, if we move on to June 22nd, nothing happened in Minnesota soccer history.
Shit.
It's a Minnesota soccer free day.
Wow. It's like a barren wasteland in Minnesota soccer.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
So what am I gonna do when I wake up tomorrow and I'm like, I don't have any history today?
You have nothing.
Yeah.
Can't believe they never played a game on the 22nd of June.
Yeah. What were they thinking?
Like ever?
Yeah.
Like
Nothing.
what? How does that freaking work?
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's like impossible.
It pretty much is impossible. Wouldn't it be
Yeah.
impossible? I mean,
Seems impossible, yeah, because the days
Like-
rotate.
got over 40 years of Minnesota soccer history, and there's no freaking June 22nd anywhere.
It was going to happen next year, and then leap year happened. That's what
Oh, well, I suppose. Yeah,
Well, it's
that's
not
right.
even happening this year because remember we're playing Austin on the 23rd too.
Jesus.
There's
Right.
something going on. Don't
Something.
play soccer in Minnesota on the 22nd. So.
Maybe it's because it's the equinox, like the summer, the equinox, so they don't play,
Oh,
you know?
there you go. That's when
'Cause,
it
like,
reaches Minnesota.
Yeah, it's like one of the longest nights or days of the year. So maybe it's, don't do that. I have no idea. So yeah, well, great to hear some history from Connor.
Been a while. It's been a long
has
while.
been a while.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, guys, like we talked about, big game Wednesday night against Austin. 3 points is a must. If we don't get 3 points, I think that's a loss. I don't care if we draw this team. We need 3 points out of this game. And anything less is just going to be wasted.
I mean, like we said before, we can't afford to drop any more points at home.
No.
We have to win against Austin. And 7 points in the next 3 games, I think is a good goal, Tony.
Yeah.
I think it's really good.
I think it's we got to climb out of the cellar. We're not really in the cellar, but we got to climb out of this at some point.
Yeah.
And get ourselves kind of back to, how would I put it? Back to kind of square one, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if it's square one because we came into the season thinking Minnesota was going to be at top of the table, but they're hardly.
Yeah.
I think we got to focus on that. It's going to be, if we're here a month from now and we're in clawing distance of the playoff line, I think we'll all be happy. So, and that Tony, you nailed it. They need to get those 7 points in the next few games. So we'll see.
Gotta do it.
I think. And I mean, don't we have reason to be optimistic here now with Frankopani, what we saw in his debut, and Adrian Anu, and hopefully Reynoso? I guess we're being a little optimistic, assuming he's healthy. But yeah, I'm optimistic. I don't know about you guys, but
Well, everyone keep in mind that Adrian Anu has not played a home game yet for Minnesota. So I think he hasn't scored in the last couple games. He played against Dallas. He played against Real Salt Lake, and he started both games and he had a couple chances, but he couldn't convert them. And but then tomorrow we've got Austin at home, so maybe that's the third time lucky game.
I think so, especially against Dallas. He had some great chances, and it wasn't even like Reynoso was different. I feel like Reynoso and his chances, he should have done better. Call it rust, call it injury, whatever you want to call it. But Anu,
I agree,
had some nice shots, and credit the goalkeeper. And actually, that's what I wanted to bring up, because every time I'm not too familiar with Dallas's goalkeeper, at least current goalkeeper, who is a Jimmy Maurer. But every time that he had a save, I was like, well played, Maurer. That's all I could think about. Tony, I know what you're talking about.
Well played, Maurer.
Right.
Well played, Maurer.
Well played, Maurer. Every time
Maurer.
Jimmy Maurer came up with a nice save, I just couldn't help but thinking, well played, Maurer. Well played.
Oh, good God.
But it was. I mean, I think credit to Anu. He had some nice shots, and
he did.
And credit to Jimmy Maurer as well, because he saved those shots.
Saves. Yeah.
And then, in fact, in one of those saves, he couldn't, he gave up a rebound, and that's why Frankopani scored. So, yeah. I think let's hope that Hunu finds a back in the net on Wednesday night, and we'll be happy.
Before we get out of here, guys, I just want to mention one thing for our sponsors. Big news out of the Supreme Court about the NCAA in terms of how they deal with student athletes.
That's right.
That was today. And moving forward, this will be a big change for how athletes in college get compensated. and will probably affect soccer a bit too, in terms of how those players get compensated and what they get paid, if they get paid from endorsements, things of that nature. So big first step for those college students who have wanted kind of to get paid to play college sports. So before we get out of here, guys, I want to say thanks to our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, official scarf supplier to MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. For myself, Tony, for Dave and Connor, well, we'll talk to you guys in a week or two.
All right, go Loons.
Go Loons.